According to this federal lawsuit, Carlos Farrell's ex-wife, Tiffany, called police when she spotted him. She was there, standing in the background, when police officer Chris Melton ordered Farrell out of his car.
Put your hands up and get out of the car.
Mr. Farrell gets out of the car, obviously hands raised.
Ben Winters and attorney Blair Durham are representing Farrell. They say police used excessive force in June of last year when they arrested the 28-year-old. In the video, a police canine being held by Officer Jeff Johnson bites what appears to be a compliant Carlos Farrell.
Your dog just ate my leg off.
One of the officers that has control of the dog allows the dog to attack Mr. Farrell even after he's on the ground.
The attorneys also accuse Cookeville police officer Chris Melton of planting drugs on their client.
Now the cops leave. Here's the hand signal.
Officer Melton searches Farrell's pockets at least a half-dozen times. Then, Durham says, another officer appears to give a signal with his hand. Melton reaches into his own right pocket, looks into the camera, and Durham says that's when Melton puts a bag of marijuana into Farrell's pocket.
Whoa, Carlos! That's bad, dude. Little weed, bro. Now you got you another freaking charge. How about that?
5 Cookeville police officers are named in the suit. Melton is on administrative leave with pay.
If they can tell each other to plant drugs with just a hand gesture, just doing that, you've got to wonder how many other people have gone through this.
You want to try me? You want to try me tonight? You think you have a bad night? I will ruin your night. You want to try me? Do you want to try me, young boy? You want to try me tonight, young boy? You want to go to jail for some reason I come up with? You want to see who knows the law better, me or you?
The officer was suspended after that tape was posted on YouTube and Google. Brett Darrow is the man who was behind the wheel, who had rigged up that camera, and he joins me now from St. Louis. Brett, thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Were you scared when the officer started screaming at you?
Yeah, I was extremely scared. I thought I might get hurt or assaulted. I didn't know what was going to happen.
Let's listen to a little bit more of the confrontation. This is with Sergeant James Kenline.
Ever get smart mouth with a cop again, I show you what a cop does. You understand me? Try to talk back. Talk back to me again. And I bet I can say you resisted arrest or something. You want to come up with something? I come up with 9 things.
So he appears to be saying he's going to make up charges against you. Your decision at that point was to put this video onto the internet so that others could see it and hear it for themselves.
I might give you a ticket for that. When we come up with some more, when you turned in, you failed to use your turn signal, the right turn signal. You want to try me some more? Huh? Come on, smart. Give me an attitude a little bit more. I bet you I can guarantee I told this car by the time I'm done.
Yeah, and why did you have the dash cam in the first place?
Well, actually, about a year and a half ago, I got a traffic ticket. I didn't think I deserved it. There was really no way for me to prove my side. I thought, well, what better way than to have video evidence if I get another one ever again? And I guess it helped out this time.
This is perhaps America's best-known African-American intellectual and director of Harvard's African-American Research Institute. Gates was arrested for disorderly conduct last Thursday at his home in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Gates arrived here at his home early last Thursday afternoon after a long plane flight from China. He arrived to find his front door jammed, so he and his driver tried to push their way through. A passerby in this neighborhood, where there's been a rash of break-ins, called the police. The sergeant who responded found Gates in his foyer. In a police report, the sergeant says Gates refused to step outside, asking why. Because I'm a black man in America? Gates showed his Harvard ID, but became angry, he says, when the sergeant refused to provide his name and badge number. The sergeant says he did, twice, but that Gates was belligerent. After repeatedly warning Gates to calm down, the sergeant says, he arrested him.
The guy forgot his keys, jimmied his way to get into the house. There was a report called into the police station that there might be a burglary taking place. So far, so good, right? I mean, if I was trying to jigger into, well, I guess this is my house now, so it probably wouldn't happen. But let's say my old house in Chicago. Here I'd get shot. But so far, so good. They're reporting. The police are doing what they should. There's a call. They go investigate what happens. My understanding is, at that point, Professor Gates is already in his house. The police officer comes in. I'm sure there's some exchange of words, but my understanding is that Professor Gates then shows his ID to show that this is his house. And at that point, he gets arrested for disorderly conduct, charges which are later dropped. Now, I don't know, not having been there and not seeing all the facts, what role race played in that, but I think it's fair to say, number one, any of us would be pretty angry. Number two, that the Cambridge police acted stupidly in arresting somebody when there was already proof that they were in their own home. And number three, what I think we know separate and apart from this incident is that there is a long history in this country of African Americans and Latinos being stopped by law enforcement disproportionately. And that's just a fact.
A possible solution to stop this type of violence would be to require all law enforcement officers to carry a small digital video camera with a few GBs of memory, attach it to their uniforms, and require them to tape their actions on duty. It is not an expensive technology when you compare it to the costs of court when dishonorable officers are sued by their victims. The camera should be encrypted and not able to be stopped or viewed by officers. The footage should be collected from all officers and archived daily, when they finish their working day. There should also be cameras placed in all law enforcement premises, and officers should not be allowed to take arrested people to any blind places. Law enforcement communication should be recorded 24 hours a day by a higher-level law enforcement unit. This unit should consist of a diverse group of people from as many different nationalities and races available in that country. The recorded materials should be publicly available for use in court.
Not just the USA, but most of the countries of the world have adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which spells out that no one shall be subjected to torture or to cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment.
It's very important that governments reaffirm that torture is not acceptable, that there is no impunity, that those who are responsible are held to account, and that governments themselves are held to account for the commitments they have made. At the moment, very few are held to account, and sometimes they are very low in the responsibility chain. And we know now much more about how decisions have been taken, and those responsible must be held to account.
I sincerely hope that you will kindly consider this matter not only as president but as someone who deeply cares about humanity. I hope you will further this idea by talking to your colleagues around the world, because it is the start of new beginning to make changes and have positive effect on every country. The next generation would remember you not only as president but as someone who has done well for the entire world, making big changes for justice and human rights by stopping racism and discrimination all over the world. With best wishes and a hope for a better world for us and our children, yours truly, Rico Hendren.